thanks to Frenzied Gouging. So that's something we're going to try and follow during the game. It's actually the 4 of the single prize Roaring Moon and 4 Fluttermane in the deck list, foregoing the Coridon altogether, actually.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so a very different take on this list. Just thinking, you know what, I would rather, I'll trade off some of those extra chances at early game damage and the extra sort of fodder in the discard pile for Vengeance Fletching, and instead I want to give myself, that sort of emergency one-hit KO button that is the Roaring Moon EX.
Yeah, this is really cool. This is like a hybrid of old Roaring Moon EX builds, as well as having just enough ancient cards in your deck list to still reach on basic EX Pokemon and a few multi-prize Pokemon when you have to with your single prizes. So it's almost like having your own Radiant Charizard as you work to the late game, but in the form of a Roaring Moon single prize Pokemon. Yeah. But I imagine we're going to see some heavy lifting of the EX during this matchup, because that's a great way to race into some Stage 2 EXs.
Yeah, it really, really is. And meanwhile, from Marcus' side, he was playing the, that's going to be Ancient Box and Kai's playing the Charizard. Now, it's going to be, what kind of list has Kai gone for with Charizard? Very much going on with, like, playing the Tier 1 archetype kind of thing.
Yeah, a little bit less chaotic than the one we've just seen on screen from Tord. A little bit more traditional. Does have the 1/1 Barrel, as well as Pidgeot as the backup. So it looks like just a few tweaks here and there, a couple of spicy things to keep an eye on, as well as the Mist Energy is actually in Kai's list, and that's, of course, huge for the matchup. This could be a way to protect yourself around Frenzied Gouging.
Yeah, it's often an include in Charizard exactly for the Roaring Moon EX, so definitely a deck-building decision paying off in this feature match already. Definitely
something we have to follow as the game progresses, because there can be situations where Charizard will sit nicely out of range, and possibly even the Pidgeot, if you want to protect that. Also, the Mist Energy, normally you have a free floating attachment because you get to pull so many energy out of the deck via Charizard EX for free with that Infernal Rain ability. As our players are getting set up here, going to be a really interesting one to follow, because of course pre-rotation Roaring Moon EX was one of our top contenders. I think most people would consider it a top 3 archetype in the Paradox Rift metagame, and it's had to make a big adjustment as we start to see some prize cards coming down.
Let's see.
First for Gianmarco here.
And there's like a couple of energy going in, but I mean, you do play good chunks, so that's not the end of the world.
Couple Charizard for Kai, that's a little bit more awkward.
2 fire energy too.
3 copies of Charizard EX. Obviously there are Super Odds in the deck list as well, so hopefully you can still circumvent that. You've also got Radiant Charizard, which can come in later game. As we see the fist bump, and we're underway here. Kai is going first, has a Charmander lead, is staring down a Fluttermane, and has a lovely Buddy Poffin start.
Yeah, gotta love that, of course. Buddy Poffin, the real replacement for Battle VIP Pass, especially in these, well, only really in these evolving decks, lets you grab any 2 70 HP or less basic Pokemon from the deck and put them straight onto your bench. Such a great setup card for evolving decks.
And unsurprisingly, another Charmander gets into the mix, as does a Pidgey. A big part of Kai's engine is going to be that Pidgeot EX. Cherry picking a card a turn is incredible. Kai's going to have a quick look through the prizes and make sure nothing's too obnoxious. Does have to definitely take note of the Charizard EXs, of course.
Yeah, 2 of the 6. Is it 6 fire that Kai's playing?
I think 6 is the standard count when you, 6 energy when you play the Mist Energy. Holding on to Ultra Balls, I think, not looking to use that Rotom V. Just going to pass things over to Gianmarco here.
Right, so let's see what Gianmarco can make of this. We're starting with that Fluttermane in the active. Pretty nice. It means that Kaya has to be careful to not do a whoopsie and evolve the active Charizard and make sure, and therefore not get that Infernal Rain ability. But it looks like Gianmarco's starting hand is pretty strong here. A lot of searching cards, it looks like.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges for Roaring Moon decks these days without Battle VIP Pass, because you have such high hit point basics.
Yep.
You have to do it the old-fashioned way with Nest Balls and Ultra Balls. So the more of those you see in the opening, that's going to be phenomenal. You still have a bit of a mini goal of getting some ancient cards in the discard pile as well, so Ultra Ball can help in that regard, as can Earthen Vessel. It's kind of just selecting the best of the ancient cards that we have available and not having any fluff in the list. As we see a Radiant Greninja as the first choice here. No energy in the hand, so it looks like it's going to be an Explorer's Guidance to help out Gianmarco get moving here. So certainly no earlier pressure from them.
No. I'm feeling pretty okay about discarding this Sarda's Vitality. Of course, you can always get this back with the Pal Pad and... wait, what's that Roaring Moon from? Was that,
That's an Ultra Ball.
Is it? Oh, wait, sorry, that was an Explorer. Okay,
yeah, we're going to go into an Explorer from this, I think. Hoping to find some energy. That's why we grabbed the Radiant Greninja, so we can hopefully continue to draw and unlock this hand a little bit more.
Right, yeah, there it is. So now Explorer's Guidance, and... oh, interesting that Gianmarco is actually playing a Switch card in the deck.
Yep. just helping out because unlike the pure single prize build, you're much more reliant on Dart Patch.
Yes,
so
exactly.
having a couple of pivots in the list can be handy. Gianmarco chose to get rid of the Sada, and I think of the 6 cards here from Explorer, there's no other supporter card.
Oh, okay.
Chose to actually hold a Pokemon Catcher, which is a really aggressive line.
Oof.
Now we're just relying on Greninja Draw and Pokestop to help us out, because otherwise it's a Pokemon Catcher and a Switch card.
It's, I mean, it's bold.
Let's spin the wheel, I guess.
There's a Super Rods, there's a Roaring Moon, there's a Roaring Moon EX.
Moon EX. Well, yeah, 1 Moon EX, 1 basic Roaring Moon. That's not much help. Now it's a big 2 Greninja cards here.
And yeah, now you, like you mentioned, Joe, you kind of have to go for this concealed cards here, otherwise you just have no draw.
Yeah, I think concealed card was always part of the plan. It was searched so early in the turn.
Yeah.
Ooh, finds Pokegear. That's going to be big in a little while.
Definitely.
It's going to be a booster capsule to the bench. That certainly makes sense, as Gianmarco's not taken any prize cards just yet, so it can push the Roaring Moon out of range of Charizard pressure. Kai does just have to bear in mind, as you said, Freya, you don't want to be evolving the active. You can evolve your bench Charmander, though, and slap 1 onto the active to retreat, and then go into a Charizard EX.
And Kai, maybe just asking, so how many ancient cards are in the discard pile already? It's a fair few. It's what is it? 1, 2, 3. It's up 5, I think it was, something like that.
Something along those lines. There is Ultra Ball, so Kai can use Lumineon V this turn. That's, I believe, a Boss's Orders and a Roxanne hitting the discard pile.
Yep.
Fluttermane's Midnight Fluttering only affects the Pokemon in the active spot, so this Lumineon can still freely use its ability and grab Arven and really unlock this hand for Rare Candy plus Forest Seal Stone here. Yeah,
because now the chain begins, right? You grab this Arven, you grab from the Arven the Rare Candy, and you can grab the Forest Seal Stone, you can put that on the Lumineon you just benched, and then you Star Alchemy, and you are good to go. You're set up.
I'm pretty sure there's some evolutions available for Kai as well, so it could easily be Pidgeot and Charizard coming down onto the field this turn.
Very, very strong.
Already Pidgeot EX before using your Forest Seal Stone or your Quick Search, so that's your means of getting into a Charizard as well here.
So Quick Search, undoubtedly going to find 1 of the 2 pieces to get this Charizard out. Yeah, just finds well, we know it's a Charizard EX. As far as Gianmarco's concerned, it's a mystery card. You don't have to show what you get off Quick Search, because you don't have to prove it's anything. It's just a card from your deck.
As is the Forest Stone that's immediately flipped as well. That's the 2-piece combo we're looking for. To candy into our benched Charizard and then retreat into it and get swinging. Kai making no mistakes. Could be a little bit of a blunder, but fully aware of their opponent's Fluttermane in the active position and not falling for that one. Nope. You've got to get up pretty early in the morning to fool Kai with one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. But no such thing here. I was going to say you could go for a Heat Tackle here, but I mean that would basically achieve nothing, right? The move is always just retreat and just attack with the Charizard.
Especially when Charizard's just so tanky.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty safe to go for this line. Kai has already seen 1 Roaring Moon EX, so has to expect that it is going to be a sort of hybrid build. But I think especially with a backup Charmander already in play. Ooh, going to see the Prime Catcher here as well. Yeah, it's a retreated Charmander. Goes into Pidgeot because it looks like it's trying to use Prime here to go into take out the Greninja here. This is a smart play because we've seen that there's no supporter in hand for Gianmarco. Discarded a Sada turn 1 and now is lacking draw. Still has that Pokegear, but really it's going to be feast or famine based on that. And
as we mentioned before, of course, as well, these Ancient Box decks, Greninja is pretty much the only draw engine they have. So you're taking that out, as we saw in the earlier feature match that was done off on 2, can really put the pressure on them. So it's going to be on this Pokegear to find anything. Is that, okay, there is an Explorer's Guidance.
Well, yeah, it's a guidance, so we're still drawing cards, but still no pressure from Gianmarco. A lot of the time you're looking to take little dinky 1 prizes or at least start setting up some damage into this chunky Charizard so you can set up a 2-hit KO. Having to pass again for Gianmarco is really awkward. You want to weave in these 1 prizes when you can, and the issue with using Roaring Moon EX as a means of taking multiple prizes is then you're also putting multi-prize Pokemon into play, and you know it's heavily damaged as well, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
After a frenzied gouging, so it's easy for Kai to throw 1 prizes back at him.
Yeah, this is the whole trade-off that you make, right? You give yourself that 1-hit KO option, but you give up that advantage of being able to, you know, make the prize map very much in your favor by only playing 1 prize Pokemon. We do see the Explorer's Guidance, and that's a lot of energy
as well. So Sada's been kept to hand, and I think another Roaring Moon. So a sigh of relief there that we're taking another turn off, but we've got something for next turn. Oh, it was a Darkness Energy kept, actually, not another Roaring Moon.
I guess that he wants the manual attachment this turn, because without that you can't. Next turn you can go Sada plus to retreat. Whereas
that's also true.
Yeah.
I'm expecting the Flutter Mains to get KO'd regardless.
Yeah, that is a good point.
We see a coin flip from Pokemon Catcher. Maybe it forces Kai into a more awkward quick search. Just has to find energy to retreat, for example. But I wouldn't be too worried about that. This is mostly just trying to negate a quick search effectively.
Yeah. Just by forcing the switch out. But it is a bit of a missed opportunity because, of course, you're talking about how the Ancient Box deck wants to pick off these dinky 1 prizes, but what you can also do is, when your opponent benches a weak 2 prizer like the Luminion, you can maybe get an early KO on that and make your prize map ramp up that way.
This is almost making Kai's decision to cherry pick a Professor Churro next turn too easy. It's such a good choice to do that now, because as you said, Freya, then you take away this easy 2 prizes whilst moving, getting back into Charizard and continuing your pressure.
Yeah, and we know for a fact that the Turo isn't prized because, well, we saw it in the prize cards earlier, and I can even sort of double check here to make sure I'm not imagining it. Yeah, nope, it's not there.
Kai top decks Charmeleon, so can also get an easy evolution there. And we're going to see the quick search, and immediately it is for that Professor Churro scenario, as expected, Freya.
Yep.
So Kai's going to keep up the pressure and just go back into their Charizard EX and just keep swinging.
Yeah, and there's the Turo. Yeah, they don't really need that anymore. And yeah, I think that I really love the way you phrased it. You almost made that decision too easy, right? Now, not only does Kai have the means to switch, but now that easy 2 prizes is just like gone as an option for Gianmarco later on. Really, really strong move there from Kai.
Going to be 3 cards to help Gianmarco out here. We're at least attacking, but now we need some backup Pokemon because it's 1 Roaring Moon against the world right now.
Yeah, it's a Earthen Vessel, and Ultra Ball.
We're still in the game.
Coming in clutch right at the end. I guess you could also bench that Iron Bundle if you really wanted to. It's not really where you want to be to sort of not lose, but at least now you can get another attacker down. So yeah, very, very important find.
Ultra Balling away Vessel and Iron Bundle, knowing that you can at least get another Pokemon to play via this search card. You go for Radiant Greninja now. You can use your second Vessel in hand to just get a couple more cards. No, it's just going to be a backup Roaring Moon. And you're still on fumes for next turn. That's my concern here for Gianmarco.
Yeah, and I guess the reason why he went for the Roaring Moon is because he needs another attacker for next turn, but you also need some kind of draw engine, right? Now you're in the same spot again. Like you said, you're running on fumes. Like, what do you really do here?
Once again in top deck mode. Unfortunate for Gianmarco here. Can get an attachment in this turn.
Yeah.
You're starting to get a bit of pressure down. You've got a few more ancient cards in your discard pile, but without a runner top deck, essentially,
yeah, I mean,
you're going to be in an awkward spot. You can't prime just yet because you've already committed Sada this turn. Maybe something you use next turn with no other Pokemon in play, so you're essentially just using it to bring something up.
Almost like a boss's orders.
Yeah, like a boss's orders or a catcher heads.
Yeah, or a pre-errata catcher.
Oh, yeah. Showing our age.
Yeah. Where's the CP filter again? That's what Connor always jokes about. Anyway.
A decent chunk, 190 damage. Definitely a threatening amount from Gianmarco here. How can Tai continue to turn the screw here?
Is there some way to get this Turo back and play it again? Because that would be devastating.
There is Palpad in the deck list for Kai. I'm not sure if you can get it into the deck and then back out again.
Yeah.
Even just retreating this Charizard could be reasonable.
Yeah, honestly. Just grab another Charizard EX. We know that there were 2 prizes, but Kai did take 1 out of the prizes already, so...
I don't mind this choice either, just quick searching to continue to develop your bench, maybe get your Bidoof into the mix, as well as another Charmander.
Yeah, I mean, you've got such a big lead here, right? You take another knockout here, your 3 prizes up, so if 1 Charizard goes down, you really don't mind at all.
Yeah, you've got your value from this 1 Charizard, more than enough. So you're happy with this exchange.
Yeah, so there's Buddy Poffin. Imagine, I'm going to grab another Charmander, and that Bidoof.
I love this choice. Yeah. You're just making sure that your board stays the same and is still in a really powerful position, so you can't end up finding yourself with no cards and in an awkward position. The barrel is such a great way to top up on cards here and there, knowing that you have the fallback of Pidgeot to help you out. Going to have to boss's orders around this ancient boosted Roaring Moon because of its hit points. So you can just take a knockout with 180 base here from Burning Darkness, and Kai keeps up with the prizes.
Yeah, so now Ancient Booster from Gianmarco.
Not much help from the top, so it's going to be an attack, and we're going to take 2 prizes.
But that's going to be all she wrote.
Yeah, unfortunately attacking then allows Kai's next Charizard to do the rest of the work here.
Although there is a little bit of a spot of bother here because Kai has yet to take one of those energy out of the prizes, so there's actually only...
You can Pidgeot for Super Rod. There's already the Charizard in hand.
Oh, there's... Oh, okay, then...
Yeah, I think we're chilling here.
Yeah, oh, yeah, so I didn't realize... Yeah, I forgot. Like I said, yeah, I even mentioned it earlier that the Charizard was already in hand for the prizes,
Kai
so yeah.
doing the due diligence of getting the Fire Energy back, as you mentioned, Freya. Good spot from the prizes, but once again, Kai not going to falter here, can get Charizard, and immediately that's enough because Gianmarco took prizes on the previous turn. That's going to allow Kai to ramp up the damage of Burning Darkness to KO the ancient boosted Roaring Moon. Pretty simple stuff there. Essentially, Kai got the absolute best setup possible, and that's far from what we saw there from Gianmarco.
Yeah, really not an ideal sort of setup from Gianmarco at all. Just really just like ran out of steam, but just very, very quickly. Had like a okay setup at the start, but you know, some of those early decisions really wasn't able to keep up that chain of attackers going, and in the end, yeah, Kai just kind of running away with the game. Yeah,
I don't think the matchup's necessarily terrible for Gianmarco. It's just the fact that it kind of fizzled a little bit.
Yeah.
I think possibly the Pokemon Catcher keep was on the greedy side compared to just keeping a Sada, but you were hoping that from your 6 cards from Explorer you could get back into the game a little bit there, but it didn't quite pan out with the first Explorer, finding you another Explorer, and then you're just not attacking for too many turns, and I feel like you do need to be the aggressor in this matchup.
Yeah, you very much do, and that's just what Gianmarco wasn't able to do at all, right? Not even able to really make use of that Prime Catcher in the end, and just not setting up enough attackers, and then as soon as he takes his first prizes, that means then the Charizard can come in and take a KO even on a Roaring Moon with an Ancient Booster Energy Capsule on it.
It's so spicy to see Gianmarco's this, because we saw that one Coin Flip Catcher, and that's because they only play one copy of Coin Flip Catcher. They have one counter, one Coin Flip, and one Prime Catcher, so keeping the opponent on the toes. As soon as you reveal one as well, your opponent has no idea of how many you're actually choosing to play. So Gianmarco has a few tricks up his sleeve for sure, and might keep Kai on his toes in terms of how he wants to develop his bench and whatnot. So I saw that opening hand wasn't that strong for Kai there.
Oh no, it wasn't.
We'll be getting the benefit of a mulligan by the looks of things from Gianmarco at the very least.
Yeah, so we can find an extra card if nothing else, and maybe that can help bail Kai out if his hand is not that strong.
I saw a Radiant Charizard lead. It's not great. You're going to have to make it out of there somehow. There is the Prime Catcher in Kai's list, so it can be done via an item rather than having to use
the Turo or something like that.
Or
discard
get a huge chunk of energy onto it. That's a big commitment. But at the same time, it has high hit points, so it could be denying Gianmarco those early prizes that we mentioned from the single prize Roaring Moon. So it's not necessarily the worst thing that's ever happened. It depends really on the remainder of the hand. I saw like Power Pad and Vacuum, some of the other like situational cards. I don't think I spied any supporter, so that could be one of the only things holding back Kai from taking a 2-0 victory here.
Yeah, so let's see the
prize cards seem pretty reasonable. Eerie can be scary because you can get rid of Dark Patches.
Yeah.
Some Ball Search cards as well at times. As we're getting into game 2 here, Gianmarco going to start things off, has the Roaring Moon lead, and a decent chunk of Ball Search cards. Lacking energy right now, which is a little bit awkward. And no way to draw whatsoever, actually.
Oh, so we're talking about Kai having a bad start, but Gianmarco has a horrendous start.
Just yet. That is terrible. Ooh. Sada is only unlocked if you can get rid of your energy cards. By playing this Ultra Ball as well, you're taking a card out of your deck, but it also means now you can't discard an energy immediately.
So
your top decks are hurt, unless you take Greninja, and then you can still top deck energy and reactivate your Sada.
Yeah, I know obviously it doesn't actually matter, but the energy was the next card on top of the deck too.
It's always like that.
Yeah, every single time.
Be like that. I think you're basically locked into taking Radiant Greninja now.
Yeah, you have to.
Because now you retain your top decks of Vessels plus Darkness Energy to be immediately unlocked with your Greninja and then into Sada, so you could burst 5 cards from that one energy spot.
Yeah.
But without a top deck, Gianmarco's once again not in a strong position.
No, not really great. And I mean, you know, the one thing going for him is that he knows that Kai can't really do a significant amount of damage turn 1, so it's not like this Roaring Moon is going down. But yeah, just benching the Radiant Greninja, then the Roaring Moon, and then it's just going to be a pass. Sorry, the benching the Fluttermane, rather. But
okay, so Kai's hand does have Ultra Ball, so we can at least see a V Pokemon coming onto this board, maybe just a Rotom early game.
I mean, you could just go for...
Can you Churro and Cleffa, perhaps? There's Churro in hand.
Oh, possibly, actually, yeah. Although, I mean, I guess you could go for the Lumineon and Arven, but then obviously that you're in that same scenario where you give your opponent...
Poffin, Forest. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting somewhere.
But it is, of course, that thing of do you want to give your opponent that sort of easy 2 prizes later, although in the last game it didn't matter because Kai was just able to pick it up with the Professor Turo.
Yeah, I feel you're right. I think the Luminion Arven is fairly standard. You don't necessarily have to use the Forest of Stone this turn either. You
No,
can just
not at
bank
all.
that.
Especially given how slow Gianmarco's start was, right?
It is going to be the Buddy Poffin as well as that Forest Hill Stone. So Kai's at least getting a couple of pieces into the game. It's just a little bit more troublesome when you're only getting 1 Charmander and only like 1 Pidgey in this case. But that's what you got to go for in this spot.
So does it grab Charmander, Pidgey, feeling fairly safe in the knowledge that they'll both be, unlikely to be knocked out given Gianmarco's slow start, unless, maybe the one thing Kai is worried about is, is Gianmarco kind of sort of semi-bluffing and just holding on to an absolute monster hand, but I mean...
And again, the coin flip catches.
Yeah.
They become so scary now because your opponent's got them in the locker. So let's see the top deck. Pokestop could be huge here. We actually need to discard energy more than we need to find items in this spot.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's spin the wheel, I guess. Let's see what we get.
Earthen Vessel would be the absolute best thing to hit.
Yep.
But any time we can discard energy here would be huge.
So Pokestop. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Well, Pokegear can get us into a different supporter. We can get into our Explorer's Guidance.
No,
that means we won't be launching an attack unless we can do some crazy shenanigans with Dark Patch.
So Pokegear. 7 up from the top. Can Gianmarco find a supporter to get himself into this game? There it is. There's the Explorers.
So both players slowly making their way into the game here. It's not been the textbook opener for either player. But this Explorer can do some pretty funky stuff, actually. I think there's already a switch cart in hand. So if you can get some switch cart, Dark Patch shenanigans, maybe if you can get into Vessel and draw more from Greninja after this 6 cards, you can do some stuff.
So Explorer's Guidance, and then, maybe you can just start to find something to get yourself in here. Going to be able to keep 2 cards, has to discard 4. Well, there's some easy discards there already. Oh, but no energy.
Well, it looks like it's all fodder.
Yeah,
you can keep probably Dark Patch and the single prize Roaring Moon. Maybe holding on to Roaring Moon EX. Yeah, just going to throw away a lot of the single prizes and 1 Ancient Boost Energy Capsule. And it's going to be a development turn for Gianmarco here.
Just... Still
Sada not unlocked for next turn. That's a bad feeling when you were able to discard so many cards.
Yeah. At first you're thinking, hold on, maybe I can find something, but now still really it's fumes again, right? It's just barely holding on. The Flutter Mane inactive is a good shout. It means that Kaigan has to be careful before he gets anything set up. But
it's a strange one because it unlocks Prime Catcher that little bit more for Kai.
Right?
I suppose you'd probably Prime Catcher Radiant Greninja anyway. Yeah. Because there's been no prize cards taken. Was that a top deck of Pidgeot for the turn? I think it was a Pidgeot top deck for the turn.
Oh, was the Pidgeot not already in hand?
One of them was a top deck, because I thought it was going to be a Forest Hill Stone Slam for a piece.
Oh, okay,
so
but
big
not needed
pickup
anymore.
To draw the Pidgeot pieces. And now we can see some quick search shenanigans.
Yeah, and of course that Forest Seal Stone still in hand, so can slam that down and then go for the Star Alchemy and find the other piece you need, and all of a sudden Kai's just good to go again.
Yeah, once again we can go grab 1 candy, grab 1 Charizard, do the Charizard from the bench, and then cheer up the active as a play and start getting some damage in.
Does mean you're giving up using Turo to pick up the Luminion V, but I mean if you're attacking this turn, I mean especially considering how bulky the Radiant Charizard is.
You got to do what you got to do.
Finds the rare candy.
You could also evolve into your Charizard EX on the bench and then spin Pokestop. Maybe you find Prime Catcher in the best case scenario or something else to get more basics developed as well. That's one of the only fear factor moments for Kai right now, is that there's no backup Charmander. If you go in swinging with Charizard EX and it does get hit into with a Roaring Moon, you could be in a bit of trouble there.
Yep. I think Kai just checking, it's only the active that it affects.
I'm on to you, Flutter Mane.
Can't get
seen
anything
this
past
card
me.
before.
Yeah. So Infernal Rain coming in, that ability on the Charizard EX, free fire energies from the deck. Oh!
So this is a play that Kai can go for because you can't expect to find anything from Pokestop here to get like additional Charmander or anything else into play. So you guarantee that you still have attacking threats after this. It is risky to sort of threaten the Pidgeots because your hand is quite weak after this.
It's also probably fine, right? Because, again, although Gianmarco did a lot, he kind of did nothing whilst doing a lot at the same time. So I don't think you're that scared of losing this Pidgeot here.
Ooh, possibly. Ooh, that's not a bad Pokestop. It's the Prime Catcher that we mentioned.
Not at all.
We can still retreat. No, well, I think with Pidgeot developed now, you have to just go through the active.
Could have maybe gone for the Pokestop first just to kind of decide the line.
Well, you're always going to you wanted to get the energy out of the deck for the best odds, right?
Oh, right, of course, yeah, that's why I did that way then. And going to fire that Power Pad as well, get that boss's orders that was milled earlier back.
Not sure how much I love this, because if Pidgeot EX is taken down, then you've just put 2 non-draw supporters back into your deck that you could potentially draw into.
Oh.
I know I'm expecting the very worst case scenario, but at the same time, Roaring Moon doesn't play Hand Disruption. So you can hold on to this Power Pad for as long as you wish, knowing that you can always use it when it's the best case scenario, but it is going to be a Pidgeot KO here, and let's see what Gianmarco can pull together.
Oh, and of course, very important here. Actually, this is why Kai went for that attack. Of course, Blustery Wind, as well as doing damage, it discards the stadium, so it means that Gianmarco has less ways to find another out.
And a top deck of Super Rod is terrible.
Yes.
It's another passing turn, I think, for Gianmarco here.
Yeah.
We really haven't seen the best of this deck list at all. On this great record so far in day one. They're 4-0, let's not forget. So the deck's been running smoothly up to this point, and now things are turning sour, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Going to send things straight back over to Kai.
Yes, it's good. That was I didn't even think about the stadium discard from the Blustery Wind, but
also,
that was absolutely huge.
Yeah, I think it's a good shout. You spot your opponent on an awkward situation. You see them putting their head on their hands when they go for the Explorer's Guidance and the Pokestops and being a piece away from what they actually need.
Yep.
And just denying all of those options is really well spotted from Kai.
Yeah, and now, of course, you can Ultra Ball and go for the Charmander, so you have the means to set up a backup attacker. You go for the Quick Search, find the Fire Energy, you can just attach that, KO this Roaring... Oh, no, wait.
I think the Vacuum's been in hand for a while.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it's been Ultra Ball just yet.
No, it hasn't. It's still in the hand.
Yeah, that's been held from turn 1.
Yes.
So it can be another means. Well, we're going to continue to pick apart the engine.
Yeah.
It's once again targeting more draw, making the Sada just far less live.
And this just makes so much sense, right?
Yeah.
It's very important, even when you're in a leading position, to not give your opponent a means of, coming back from that lead. And that's exactly what Kai's doing here.
It's a Sada top deck. We needed it to be Vessel. It's going to be another pass here for Gianmarco.
Absolutely brutal draws.
Heartbreaking. Yeah, it really is, because it's such a cool deck. Deck list. We wanted to show it off. Again, I'm not too happy with the Super Rod, because you're putting 3 cards that aren't bailing you out immediately into your deck.
Yeah, I think if you're going to go for this, maybe just bring out the Greninja, Ultra Ball that out, and then pass. Yeah,
that's a solid line. But you need to hold the Ultra Ball as well, because if you don't draw Greninja, you need to draw Vessel, and then you can get energy out the deck, then Ultra Ball them away. You need to have multiple discard cards.
Right. I see. Yeah, it's. But I mean, if you get the Greninja out now, then the drawing energy isn't out.
It could just get dusted, though. It could just get taken out immediately again.
Yeah,
when
you're right.
Pidgeot EX is in play, it can choose what it wants to do. You're not going to miss boss's orders when you can choose it for the right
you're not. And you just saw him Power Pad it back as well. Oh dear. Does Gianmarco?
I'm not a fan of this play.
Actually, the more I think about it, the sort of less sense it makes.
Sometimes it's a less is more situation where you know your back's against the wall, and sometimes just holding off on everything is still the best line. Yeah,
because now, I mean, I guess in this instance, maybe Gianmarco's thinking it means that my attackers are preserved, but yeah, you're just going to go for that Greninja again.
Here we go again. It's going to be another means of an easy prize. Kai had no way to take a prize outside of the Vacuum. So now that you're just giving more prizes away, it's really looking awkward.
Yeah, it's such a tough position, right? Because, you're drawing so badly. Your back is really is, as you mentioned, Joe, the back's against the wall, but you have to, try and give yourself the best odds possible. But, Gianmarco was just giving more of, the opening there for Kai to really, lock the draws shut on the game.
Because now I don't know what draw you want. You want to draw into another Explorer's Guidance now and take another turn off to unlock Sada at some point, sometimes maybe.
Yeah, but then Kai was
just drawn a Roaring Moon and it's a pass again. You've just rodded back in a Roaring Moon.
Yeah, and now you can just bench this Bidoof. You don't need those rare candies. You can vacuum one of them away just to get rid of the Ancient Booster Energy Capsule.
Kai can even wait, honestly. He could just attack and hold Vacuum. Again, you don't know that... I mean, you're pretty aware that there's very few Hand Disruptors available.
Yeah.
You can just punch, knowing that you can
do it next
go...
turn,
yeah, exactly.
Too strong.
Such a commanding position here for Kai.
Yeah, let's play not like devil's advocate, but let's try and think this through here. What actually is Gianmarco's route back into this game, if there is one?
I'm racking my brains. I'm worried. I don't know what single draw helps.
For those of you, obviously you can't see our face right now, but I'm looking over at Joe, and yeah, like the brain cogs are turning.
There's even a mist energy coming onto this Charizard EX as well now. Yeah, Kai's doing everything to just make it harder and harder for Gianmarco to make any sort of comeback play. Holds onto the vacuum, top decks into another super rod. I mean, this is just a bad beat at this stage. Gianmarco's in a horrible position. It's such a shame because the Roaring Moon deck is still on those fringes. We've seen it with the Dunsparce. Yeah. We've seen it all one prize builds so far today, and has been doing well in some tournaments. I feel like it's fair to get rid of the counter at this stage.
You're not going
down
behind.
to 2. And yeah, where does Gianmarco go from here? Kai going down to 2 prize cards, sends up another single prize Roaring Moon for Kai to once again gobble up. With this Charizard EX, it's just got so much value this game. Yeah. More quick searching, you can even develop the barrel. Oh, Kai's just in a commanding position. The Charizard's basically just been untouched all game here. And it is really down to Gianmarco not having the best of starts, obviously. But it would have been great to see a highlight reel moment from Roaring Moon and see a real back and forth for this deck, because I do think it deserves some spotlight. Yeah,
it definitely does. And we saw a good Roaring Moon game earlier on, of course, not with the EX as much, but of course with the Ancient Box. But yeah, the Roaring Moon EX really not able to put on the demonstration of its genuine fearsome power. What does Gianmarco top deck here? Oh, it's a Nest Ball.
Doesn't help. It's going to be a pass, because anything else you put into play is bad for you.
Yep. And Kai can't win this turn.
Nope.
No, just 180.
Doesn't even quick search, just attacks. Has everything they need.
Yeah, and what does Gianmarco see now? Finally draws the energy, but that's it.
Gianmarco has had enough. No surprise there. Really not getting into the game, unfortunately. Kai isn't going to have an easier round than that, I don't think, today. Because in both games, they set up pretty nicely. They had a bit of a precarious turn 1, had to do just a cheeky buddy popping and pass play, but thanks to the lack of pressure from Gianmarco's deck, also not really on full cylinders, not even close actually. Kai was eventually able to rebuild the board and get into a really powerful and dominant position, and that's what Charizard can do. It's one of the best setup decks in the game. Given time, you can get your multiple stage 2s online, you can get that big barrel back up as well if anything was to go wrong, and yeah, Kai was able to cruise, but a lot of that was down to smart play as well. Shutting the door from Pokestop, as you mentioned, shutting the door from Radiant Greninja not once but twice. These are the things that make a big difference. Even when you're ahead, pushing that advantage more and more. Yeah,
because when you look at that game, right, if you're looking at it from the perspective of someone who perhaps isn't as familiar with how things go, you might think, oh, that was just a complete blowout, there was no chance. But the reason why it was a blowout is exactly because of what you said, Joe. Kai made sure that it was a blowout. He took away every single opportunity that Gianmarco might have had to come back and said, no, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that. And so he really, he took that lead and he cemented it.
Yeah, and so often you'd see people just go in with the Charizard EX. This is my attacker. This is what the deck's named after. I got to attack with this one. But Kai found the reasoning, the logic was sound to just go for 120 damage to deal with a Flutter Mane, whilst also having backup threats established and still being prepared for basically all outcomes. Really impressive stuff.
Yeah, really impressive. Showing his true mettle as a very skilled player. And I think, honestly, Kai's one of those players where it feels like his list of accomplishments doesn't really accurately reflect how skilled of a player he actually is.
Kai just needs to play in more tournaments.
Yeah,
they just need to keep playing, and the